You're listening to Wild Things and Wild Places, a Muley Fanatic Foundation podcast that aims to discuss issues and efforts related to the Muley Fanatic Foundation mission, the conservation of mule deer, furthering the sport of hunting, and sound wildlife management.
Everybody knows I'm a Muley fanatic.
It's time for Wild Things and Wild Places. And here's your guide, Joshua Coursey.
And welcome to another episode of Wild Things and Wild Places. And joining me today, my partner, Joey Fagel. Joey Howie. Howie.
Howdy. Hello.
It's like howdy, but Howie.
Yeah, Howie. Howdy.
How do you do?
Doing good. Doing great.
Good. We wanted to talk about the conservation license plate on this episode. As you may have seen, if not, you've seen it now with the attachment that accompanied this podcast. But the new conservation license plate made its inaugural debut at Mule Deer Days, and we are grateful for WYDOT's effort to be able to have that available to showcase to those that were able to attend Mule Deer Days. It has since been shown at the Conservation Forum that Governor Gordon held in Du Bois last week. So it's starting to make its rounds, but there's still many that haven't seen it, and we're pretty excited about this license plate, but there's a little bit of a story and some history that goes with it, really needs to be showcased. And then I think there's some misnomers out there. There's some misinformation, maybe some confusion, and we want to be able to cover that as well. But the bottom line is the conservation license plate that was signed by Governor Meade in 2018 and became available to Wyoming motorists on January 1, 2019. That was an effort that is rooted heavily with the Muley Fanatic Foundation and our efforts to really bring that to the legislative body for them to ultimately endorse and support and pass legislation to create it. And it's doing great things.
Wyoming, this is the first thing they have been trying to get a lot of specialty plates, and Wyoming's just real particular on how they have their plates in the state. And the University of Wyoming has their plate. That's the only other specialty plate there is besides the armed forces plates and stuff and first responders, but this is a different type of plate. It goes towards a fantastic cause. It's unbelievable. You know, the price of some of these, and we're talking about wildlife crossings, roadways, we need modified fencing, wildlife-friendly fencing, we need these wildlife crossings, these underpasses to save a large number of wildlife populations. And for this plate, it's already contributed millions of dollars towards these projects.
And we worked, the history on this is that we worked with a representative who's no longer in our legislative body, but at the time, Representative Stan Blake. We sought out strategically a representative that we thought had good relations on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, could work well with his fellow colleagues within the legislative body on the Senate and the House side to really be a champion and an ambassador for this. And that effort that was taken on in 2018. It wasn't without challenges, but we got it to the finish line. And the bottom line is that plate was created and again available for motorists on January 1 of 2019. To date, there are 3,066 wildlife conservation plates running around the Cowboy State. Of course, a big thanks to Governor Gordon in 2020. He put out the challenge to have 2,020 plates by the end of 2020, and we exceeded that. The residents in the Cowboy State stepped up, and we appreciate that. But when this bill was drafted, it was drafted to be simplistic for certain reasons. One, so that it could be very transparent to the folks that were supporting this cause, that the passing of this bill would also create an account with the Treasury's office in Cheyenne called the Wildlife Conservation Account, and that those funds that this would generate would be expended in partnership between Wyoming Game and Fish and Wyoming Department of Transportation. And as Joey, you just alluded to, wildlife crossings, wildlife-friendly fence conversions, signage. Very simplistic, but those are very big causes. Like you said, overpasses and underpasses, extremely expensive.
Let's go back even further, how really this kind of started. 2017, April of 2017.
Daniel, Wyoming.
Yeah, we attended a WYDOT. It was a summit where it brought in a diversity of folks, landowners, game and fish, nonprofit organizations. There was a large number of folks that came into that room.
Yeah.
We did a lot of things. We broke down a lot of
Looked at maps.
Ideas, maps, everything. We looked at numbers, how many even human fatalities there were with these wildlife collisions. It was just amazing. It really opened your eyes, and credit YDOT for putting this together. And the biggest thing was the cost of projects like wildlife crossings to prevent all this stuff. And no one could really think of how we can do that. It was like millions. How are we going to raise millions of dollars?
Yeah, the need is obvious.
Yeah. And what did we do? We sat there and started coming up with ideas. And next thing we knew is, even back when we were just a chapter for MDF, we started talking about how Wyoming needs a wildlife type plate, since it's pretty much the number one economic thing for the state. Why do we not have a wildlife plate? Not just to raise money, but they should have that because it represents a very important piece in the state.
Yeah, $1 billion industry.
Yeah,
our wildlife and what our wildlife and natural resources provide to this state is a huge economic driver.
And we circled back to that idea and thought, hey, how can that plate help raise money for this cause?
Yeah.
We started crunching down some numbers. You started writing down some numbers of how many people own what the number of plates, vehicles in the state of Wyoming, and if each one of them bought a wildlife conservation
you could
plate.
generate a lot of money.
Yeah, tons of money. It could pay for every project in the state, practically. And then that's when the idea came about, and then that's when we hit stand up on the 2018 legislation, and it's incredible. And the folks that told us, no, it won't happen.
Yeah, because it was a budget session.
Yeah, it's a budget session. There's been multiple number of specialty plates going through.
47 plate bills had been attempted before and failed.
And then everybody looked at us, including Stan, was like, well, I'll do it. But I'm just telling you, this is going to be a battle. And we all stepped in, and there was so many people that were a part of that. And
yeah, Jess Johnson, Wyoming Wildlife Federation. She was a great push in helping try to just continue the message with different contexts. But the bottom line is it got done. We're excited. We're grateful for that. But now there's a new plate. And lately we've been hearing, can I keep my mule deer plate? And the bottom line is no. By statute, just like the general issued Wyoming plate that is now coming out, when your registration expires, you're given a new plate. By statute, plate designs have to change every 6 years. And there's all kinds of implications for the reason behind that. But the bottom line is we had to come up with a new plate. YDOT Game and Fish put together a working group to kick around ideas. We knew that it was probably the right thing to do, change critters, if you will. Although we'd have been happy if we could have kept mule deer. That would have.
Yeah.
But we knew, these wildlife crossings aren't just for mule deer. Right. I mean, they're for all wildlife. Right. Many trail cameras have showcased various critters that are using these underpasses and overpasses. They've got underpass use that includes otters, beavers, badgers, mountain lions, bobcats, bears.
Yeah. And you can make that whole list, and you've got a long span of different species to put on these plates now.
Yeah. But ultimately, this was geared towards big game, and we appreciate that. That was by design. And so we thought, what critter's next? What one needs the most effort? And certainly our pronghorn populations have also taken it on the chin like mule deer, not just with winters, but also disease. And Wyoming is host to the largest pronghorn population on the planet. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at all the statistics and the data that they have for each species, pronghorn, we're number 2 to mule deer as far as how many fatalities there are with wildlife, with vehicle collisions. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. We got to put the pronghorn on there.
And kudos to you. The plate design, when we first started talking about it, I had showcased to you looking at the 1978 plate. I really liked the brown and the white with the buck and rail fence. When you go to the Sweetwater County DMV to renew your registration, they have all those historic plates on the backdrop. That wall has just a wide variety of display of plates that have been issued, but that one stood out. And I just thought, could we, in light of the new general issue plate that's coming out that has had some mixed feelings about it, I think the majority of the folks that I've heard that don't like it is now Colorado and Utah has a black and white plate, and this looks like Wyoming's just following suit, although it's not black. It's actually navy blue, but from afar it looks black. It's a very dark navy blue.
Yeah, when you see it, you're like, that's our new plate.
Yeah. And I think the other rub is that I've heard from others, and in fact it bothers me is a little bit as well, but it says travelwyoming.com on the bottom.
Yeah, we're advertising.
What are we doing?
I know.
Yeah, but that's all right. I think the contrast between the wildlife conservation plate and the new general issued Wyoming plate, maybe that'll help the conservation plate. But I think what's going to help the plate more than anything is just better information, more education about what the plate is, what it costs, how it has nothing to do with the registration. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah. Oh, I don't renew for another couple months. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can get it now. Just do it now.
Yeah, that's a thing. And so we wanted to just be able to cover some of the misinformation that's out there and dispel some of that. So I guess starting point is, yes, if you're going to get a conservation plate and you wanted to get one today, here we are in June of 2024. If you went in to get a plate today, here's the process. It's a one-page application with WYDOT. You can do it at your local courthouse. You can do it online, but you can do it at the courthouse and you can pay right there. It is a $180 initial charge, of which $30 goes to WYDOT for the production of the plate. $150 is put into the wildlife conservation account. And then every year, there is a $50 renewal. And again, this has nothing to do with your registration. Your registration that you would normally have, that is a separate charge. That is a fee that is paid to the county of where you are from. But the $50 renewal fee that you have every year, that also goes to the wildlife conservation account. So it grows and it compounds and it builds. And it really goes back to the adage of waterfall starts one droplet at a time. Mm-hmm. And right now, 3,066 plates running around the Cowboy State. Their initial $150 contribution to the account and then their $50 renewal, that has amassed $1.5 million plus dollars, $1,594,000. And there's some other monies that are being put into that account. They passed the opportunity 2 years ago. When you buy your license, you can either make a donation to Wildlife Crossings or Search and Rescue. That has historically always been there. And that has actually seen a pretty significant increase of dollars being allocated to this as well. People get it. They understand these work and they work right away, but they are pricey.
Yeah, definitely pricey, but where the money's going, you just got to figure it's not going to waste. Shoot, I don't even know how the University of Wyoming plate works. I guess it would just be funding a lot of things with the university. Nothing against that. It's going towards another.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know. I still have people say, do you have to be an alumni to have that plate? No, but you're right. I'm sure there's a good cause associated with where that revenue goes. But a lot of people buy the plate just because they have Polk pride, right?
Yeah,
go Pokes.
That's pretty much why. Yeah, so we have pride in our wildlife, so why not get this plate? And really, it's unbelievable the difference making these wildlife crossings do. It saves almost instantly 90% of what that fatality was. That's incredible.
Yeah, you look at Trapper's Point, when that was done, like immediately no mortalities of antelope, pronghorn in that country.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't take years before they start using them. They start using them right away. I mean,
wildlife crossings, they're expensive. They do have a shelf life. They're estimating that wildlife crossings have about a 75-year shelf life before it needs major renovation. But this is an investment that you can actually see a return on. When you talk about the cost of property damage, when there are motor vehicle accidents, when you talk about the loss of wildlife, and then the unthinkable, you can't put a value on human loss. And there are human fatalities associated with wildlife collisions. And so anything and everything that can be done, again, this isn't going to bring back our deer population. This isn't going to bring back our pronghorn population, but it is like anything else. It is having an impact in all of the variables that are impacting these populations. And if you can have an effort to mitigate whatever that is with each of those, then collectively is where you start to move the needle. And we see great value in this. The WYDOT reports on mule deer loss due to vehicle collisions on an annual basis is a little over 7,500. And when you think about that, that's on an annual basis. Now multiply that, how many that is per day that are occurring across Wyoming. Every single day, there are multiple mule deer being hit and killed. And that's just mule deer. Mule deer, WYDOT has said, is the number one species that is hit across the state on the highways and byways around our state. But that's a significant number. And that, I believe, is a very conservative number because that doesn't take into account critters that are hit
Run
go
off.
50, 100 yards off the road, 200
Yeah.
yards, and lay down and die.
And not only that, you got to consider the movement time of these mule deer in late November, December, and that after they've been impregnated.
You're not losing one.
You're losing possibly 2 or 3.
Yeah. You hit a doe fawn in February, 99% of does are pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. And elk are, moose are,
Yeah.
pronghorn, mule deer that they rut in November and early December. But there's guarantee that a lot of those cow elk and cow moose and doe antelope, they're all pregnated.
Yeah. And that's really when they're at the most vulnerable risk of being hit. Is it their connectivity from their summer range to winter range to summer range, and that movement, that migration connectivity that's so important. I mean, they're going to move, and they gotta overcome the obstacles that we have put in their landscape. And so the bottom line is, this is a good cause. This is a great fit. I have lofty goals that we at some point we can get to 10,000 plates, and when you think about what kind of money that generates and the wildlife crossing impacts that can mitigate. That can be enormous. So I guess there is, the opportunity to dispel some of the misinformation. And where I was going to go and was going to say, if you bought a plate today, yes, when the new antelope the pronghorn plate that comes out available January 1st, you will have to pay the $150, $180, $30 again for the plate production, $150 to the account. You will have to pay that again. But I think if you're invested and you have the buy-in to the impact and the effort that this is doing, with many folks participating, that's what you're supporting.
Yeah, and I encourage a lot of folks. They ask about that, and you can hold off till January, but that mule deer plate right now, you will never be able to get it again.
It's a collector's plate. Yeah, Chris Colligan, now working for Teton County, used to be with Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. We had a meeting on Monday morning with the RIT, they call it, Wyoming Wildlife Roadways Initiative Team. And that was part of our conversation in our Monday morning meeting was, how do we showcase it? This is a collector's plate. If you want a mule deer plate in Wyoming, this is it. The window is very narrow.
And if you circle back to the mule deer species in the future, even yet, this is the very first wildlife conservation plate. Why would you not want that in your collection?
Yeah.
I'm ready to, we all say it's too bad that their trailers, the trailer plates and ATVs and all that stuff, people and motorcycles, it would be great to have that started right now so you at least even collect those little ones. But right now, I encourage everyone, just get that deer plate. If you really can invest into it, just pay that $180. You'll get that collected plate pretty much, and then you'll just turn around and do the $180 for the pronghorn. But I don't know. In my mind, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, every penny. Again, it's not asking everything from every single person, but asking a little bit from everybody.
Right.
And that's what builds this pot. That's what gets this stuff done. There's a tremendous amount of wildlife crossings that are in the think tank, if you will. WYDOT and Game and Fish have worked collaboratively to identify them. Of course, South Kimmer, that wildlife crossing project is in its engineering phase now, had a huge gift. And I think this is truly telling of Wyoming being in the driver's seat when it comes to wildlife crossings, but $24.3 million from the feds to help bring that project to fruition. And they'll begin construction on that next year. That'll include 5 underpasses and 1 overpass. And with the growth that is expected in that South Lincoln County area with the Terra nuclear power plant, the conversion of the coal mine, there's just so much stuff coming down the road that literally will be coming down the road. And you're going to have support coming out of Mountain View, the Bridger Valley area, Evanston. Kimmer isn't that big of a community, and they're going to have people that are going to have to be supporting those projects and that type of growth from elsewhere. And
yeah, opportunity for numbers to double.
Yeah.
From what they are now.
Of course, construction's about to begin on hopefully here within the next couple of years as well on the Highway 26 project just east of DuBois. That's another incredible, valuable area where there are a lot of documented collisions. But then, Wyoming is really doing a good job. And I commend the Department of Transportation and the Game and Fish Department for prioritizing wildlife crossings, hearing about the future projects that they have, because as you remember in 2017, all those maps, they started identifying.
Yeah.
If we had money, where are the needs? And Wyoming is never going to be in a place where they're going to say, well, I don't know that we have any more needs. No, they're way out in front of this, and I'm proud of that.
Many large projects that need to be taken care of right now. And then eventually you can do those smaller ones. We pinpointed a lot of areas that, wasn't impacted that highly, but still meant you can still save 100 deer or 100 pronghorn in those areas. So eventually you can do those smaller projects once you take care of these larger ones, and this funding is just still going to be very important. So I look forward to seeing what the future of this does, and eventually, that I-80 corridor,
that's it.
There's multiple places there. There may not be a high number of animals that come across those certain sections, but still saving not only wildlife lives, but human lives is very important. So why not continue on with these smaller projects as well?
What I have really come to appreciate in the conservation community today is that the collaboration is really key. And what does this wildlife conservation account money do? It provides, obviously, a goal, but it provides seed money to be able to leverage for other dollars to really make these hefty priced impacts work. And so again, I don't want us to beat a dead horse. I really want us to talk about the importance of this. I wanted us to be able to showcase, continue to promote, help educate folks what this is, why is it important, how you can go about getting it, where you can get it. You can do it online. Again, you can do it at your local county courthouse with the Department of Motor Vehicles. And let's see these plates running all over the state. We play a game here at the office when we're traveling. My wife and I do this as well. It's really a throwback to when we were youth and used to play Slug Bug or Volkswagen. Now we play Conservation Plate. And Joey's really good at this because he doesn't say, because if you both say it at the same time, it's who started to say it first. And so I've actually taken a play out of Joey's playbook with my wife because I used to always just say Conservation Plate, but now it's like CP. It's much quicker and you get it out faster. And you're like, nope, I said it first.
Yep.
CP.
Yep. We also discussed a while back is motorcyclists. They're all like their own family and gang, however you want to look at it. And they wave to each other every time they pass each other.
Huh? Yeah.
They'll combine or they'll start riding together, all that type of thing. I have a habit every time I see a conservation plate, man, I wave to the guy. We do anyways in Wyoming. We pretty much wave to everybody, but I make it for sure thing is I see a conservation plate. It's like,
yep, we're in the CP club.
Yep. So yeah, it's fantastic, and I can't wait for this plate to come out. I think it looks badass.
And you did an incredible job on the design.
It's challenging with that one because the species has to be placed where our county is usually placed, the county number, and trying to fit the right photo into that is extremely challenging. The mule deer one wasn't too bad when I made that one, and kudos to the photographer, Mr. Mead, he donating his photo for that. It's just awesome to see that. Going through a multiple number of photos to finally find that one that works perfectly is just, it's challenging.
Yeah, it's not just finding a picture of a pronghorn and slapping it on.
No, because you have to really crop that, adjust it, make it look right. And with our steamboat there, you don't want to interfere with that. It's definitely a challenge, but it's fun to do, and it's just cool to see it all come together. And I'm excited for the next one too.
Yeah,
it'll be cool. But yeah, I'm excited for this new one. This one's going to be really cool to have displayed on your vehicle.
Yeah, so again, those plates, every 6 years, they must change. That's the way the current statute is. I will say, and let the cat out of the bag, there are some efforts that we've already been discussing to be able to approach our legislative body next session, next spring, and to be able to see if we can have an addendum to this to be able to include UTV plates and trailer plates. There's been a lot of folks, particularly in the UTV community, that are running those around on roads that would like to be able to include that as well. And I certainly think if that opportunity and that interest is there, that we take advantage of that. But again, if you need more information, if you have more concerns or questions, please don't hesitate to call us. We're well versed with this program. We'd be happy to answer that. But I think the biggest misnomer that's out there that we continue to hear is that it's tied to your registration, and it has nothing to do with your registration. Once you fill out that application, you pay the fee. Courthouse will call you in a couple weeks, tell you your new conservation plate is there. You switch out your plates. It's June and your registration renews in August, they're going to give you a plate, and it's already going to say August on it, and then when your registration's due, you just get a new sticker.
Yep. Get it anytime.
Check out this plate. See what you think. We think it's very Wyoming-esque, if you will. And if you're familiar with the 1978 plate, you'll see what was certainly some of the inspiration behind that. But you did a great job with the design of that, the habitat, the fence. And I just think the colors they just speak Wyoming. Yeah. It just reeks of poke pride.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. Enjoy doing it. I'm looking forward to the next one, too.
There you go. Talking about the Wyoming Wildlife Conservation Plate. That's been another episode of Wild Things and Wild Places. Do appreciate you tuning in. Please help spread the word. We're gonna come up with some sort of contest on the conservation plate. So stay tuned for that because it'll be pretty cool as well. Wild Things and Wild Places.
And that wraps up another episode of Wild Things and Wild Places. But remember, the journey doesn't end here. Make sure you never miss out by subscribing. Whether you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, streaming us on our website, or following us on social media, subscribing is the best way to stay connected. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more wild episodes.
Everybody knows I'm a Muley Fanatic.